What is going on, beautiful people? It's your boy Blue, and this is the Thrustmaster F-16 Viper Throttle Quadrant system. And after a couple of months of flying with it, I seriously have much more love and appreciation for the F-16 Viper and its flight controls. There really is something special about flying an aircraft in the simulator with the authentic flight controls in your hand. That being said though, is it worth it? Hopefully, I can help you decide. This throttle was inspired by the popular old Cougar HOTAS from like 20 years ago, but this one is a full-size 1-to-1 scale replica with a metal handle licensed by the US Air Force. Every throttle switch and knob on the real-world F-16 is replicated and functional here, including the throttle cutoff and afterburner detents, which I can't wait to show you in the simulator. But first, below the throttle, we have the switch panel. It's backlit and it includes the landing gear handle, which you have to pull out first before moving up or down. There's the emergency jettison, weapons master, countermeasure program knobs, and system radar power buttons, just like in the real jet. Stores config, laser jammer, and autopilot switches are all conveniently placed also. So if you decide to get the full mission pack, that includes the throttle and switch panel, this will all come out the box fully assembled. And for DCS pilots flying the F-16 Viper, it should be as easy as plug and play with just one USB cable. All the buttons should be mapped for you to match the F-16, but you can customize them if you like, of course. And speaking of customizing, in the box you get a tiny wrench that will allow you to adjust the tension of the throttle axis using an area hidden in the back. And there are 5 holes underneath the base, so you can mount it to your flight sim chair like the one from Next Level Racing. In my opinion, the physical product design looks clean and feels great actually. Very smooth, not extremely heavy. The throttle handle and lever is metal, but everything else is plastic. But it doesn't feel cheap though. The build quality feels fine to me. But the best way to really show its worth is to put it to work and see it in action. So let's hop in DCS. And here we are in DCS world. Check out that C-130 taking off. That's sick. Anyways, we're in a cold jet here in the F-16 Viper. I just want to show you guys just some of the practical uses of the throttle inside of the simulator. So we're going to look at the throttle here. I'm actually going to use the axis here on the right of the throttle. I do the same thing on my Warthog throttle. I use this as a zoom in and zoom out. I don't believe that's a default mapping. That's just something I personally do. So I'm gonna zoom in so you can get a good look at the throttle. And again, right now we're sitting in idle, right? Or sorry, I should say we're in throttle cutoff. I cannot move the throttle beyond the detent. Obviously there's some give here, but I can't move beyond the detent. So if I want to get the throttle into the flight idle position, I have to use my pinky here, push that down, rotate the throttle and put it into the flight range and bring it back to idle. And now, as you can see here and in the sim, it is now in the throttle to idle position. And if I want to go into afterburner, I can push all the way forward. There's another detent here, and then I don't have to press the pinky switch to get in the afterburner. I can go here and I can just rotate it, and it pushes us forward into the afterburner detent. So it's pretty simple. Works great in the air. We'll do it again in the air as well. But let's put it back into idle, and we'll go ahead and get the jet started up. So I'm first hit the manual power, and then we'll go to engine start. So I'm not going to go through the entire startup process. Don't worry about that. I just want to show you a few little points of things that you can do and adjust while starting up. Now, there is no master power or starter switch, sadly. Be kind of nice if they would have included that, but that is not included in the actual switch panel. All right, so we are now ready to put the throttle into flight idle. So we're going to do that. So we'll go ahead and again press the pinky switch, rotate it, move it up into flight idle like that, and now you can hear the jet firing up. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my RWR system power. There we go. We'll turn our jammer on, and then we will go ahead and switch our countermeasures over to semi, and then we'll set our program to we'll just set it to 1. That's fine, or 2. 2 works as well. All right, here we are pulling into the runway 16 here at Laughlin Air Force Base, I believe, and we're gonna go make a left here. And I'm just gonna hold the brakes as we get on the runway and hit the nose wheel steering button, which is actually on my joystick. The Warthog joystick is what I'm using today. We'll hold the brakes down. I am going to push the throttle to full forward, which is gonna be middle power. And then we'll flip that up into afterburner, release the brakes. We are now rolling. A little bit of left rudder to keep her on the center line best we can. Now that we're rolling, I'm actually gonna take my hand off the throttle here and get set on the landing gear. Taking off in the F-16 is very quick. You can be very quick on the gear. So I'm gonna go up. Here we go. I'm gonna pull throttle out and flip it up. There we go, and gear is coming up. Alright, now that we are airborne, I can show you some of the autopilot functions. So first, we'll start off with the heading. So right here on the bottom of our throttle, we have our heading bug. We can move this left and right. Now, the sim does not consider this to be an axis. It's actually more of like a button right and a button left as you're turning it. There's also a push button. You can push it down if you like to use that function as well. So that's the heading. But then, so if we want to go on a heading, so if we want to make a right turn to maybe like heading 300, I'm gonna turn this to my right, and then over here on the left, I'm gonna actually use this switch here and go into heading select. So when I click that up, you see now that goes in the heading select, and the aircraft should now turn to follow the heading that we selected. Now, say we want to stay at this altitude. Right now we're at 16,000 feet. We can either maintain our attitude, which will stay at about 5-degree climb. We can go, to the down position, or we can go, hey, I want to maintain this exact altitude and go up like that, and that's now going to activate the pitch altitude hold that will actually level out our aircraft so that it maintains the altitude they were already at, and that's working and functional. So this mode switch right here that shows ILS, TACAN, nav, and all that, you can use this as a autopilot function if you like. By default, at least in the pre-release version of the throttle, it is not currently mapped to anything. So you can it's basically a free few button switches that if you want to select it too. So right now I don't have that mapped to anything, but I just want to point that out. Alright, while we're on autopilot, let's take a quick look at the weapons. Move my throttle back here. You can see we have our master armor switch. We can flip that forward. That'll put our aircraft into master arm. Now on the throttle itself, we have a 3-position dogfight switch. Put you in the dogfight mode, quickly get you in and out of dogfight mode. If we look here off our HUD, you can swip that forward. You can go guns, guns, and go back that way for the missiles. And it's also a center position as well. Now if we zoom in on the radar, we can actually put our radar cursor into action here. You can see I can move that around very easy. It's actually very smooth. You can make really fine adjustments. It's not real twitchy, which is nice. But then also in thumb's range, you have the elevation, the antenna elevation. I can move up, I can move down, also with my thumb. And again, back to my cursor. And it's very convenient to very quickly make adjustments on the radar. I mean, it's the best radar experience I've had so far. There's also a center position here. So actually, you can actually move this all the way out, all the way down, but then also there's a center. So right here is a little detent right there where it puts it in the center. That'll basically center your antenna elevation, which is really nice. And also, I can't forget to mention there's also a push right here on the radar cursor enable, as well as on the antenna elevation is also a push. I don't have this one mapped. I do have the enable switch mapped. That's a default mapping, but the antenna elevation is not default. That's not automatically mapped because you can do whatever you want. In the real jet, it actually does not push down like that, so it's a nice little extra button for you to use for track IR or VR, whatever you need it for. And now you can see on our air-to-ground radar, you can actually move that radar cursor around to manipulate that. That's very nice and convenient. We can also swap over to the TGP and make that soy, and again we can move that around as well. And you can't see it too well right now because it's we're flying over some clouds, but you can also use this right here with your index finger to zoom in and out of the picture, which is really nice. I can go over here to this area, which is not, oh, some buildings over here, nice, and I can just zoom that in like that. It's also obviously a wide on the actual push key here as well, but it's really convenient to be able to move this around and zoom in, zoom out, search for targets, designate targets right there on the fly. Now this button right here, I think by default it's mapped to the zoom in and zoom out. You can actually push it forward and pull it back. I do not have this mapped right now, but it is kind of an extra couple buttons you can use for various reasons. So I think a lot of people are going to want to use this for zooming in and zooming out. Underneath the throttle, there is a bit of a black button. I believe in real life, some F-16s have what they call a blackout button, allowing you to turn off all your lights when you're in a combat scenario. But that's not automatically mapped. It's also not automatically supported in DCS. But DCS does see it, so you can map that to whatever you want to map it to. Also, here we have our last button, which is our radio button. And by default, this is mapped to your various radios. I have it specialized for myself, for my own use, but I use it to open and close the in-game radio menu. But it also has a push. So there's 4 different ways you go. So you go this way, that way, that way, and that way, which is also a push as well. So there's basically 5 button mappings here. You have the 4 different directions, plus you have pushing it down, as well as on the manual range. I didn't mention there's also a push here. Again, antenna elevation has a push. So there's a few extra buttons here that you wouldn't see in the real jet, but it is, again, convenient to have for those who need a few extra button presses. Also, one last thing I think we can say on this throttle is the chaff flare switch here on the left is really freaking cool. So I'm actually going to hit it right now, go to the outside view, and we'll hit the chaff flare. And you can see that's working beautifully. And in a similar scenario, you may need to also jettison. So if I go to the outside view again, I hit the jettison switch right here. Boom, we've jettisoned everything. And again, flare. Get out of there. All right, here we go. We are RTB coming back in for landing. I'm gonna grab my landing gear, pull it up, and put it back into the down position. Let's put the gear down. We also have here, which I haven't mentioned yet, the speed brakes. So pulling that backwards will deploy the speed brakes. Just like that. You can also push it forward as well, so it's more of a push back like that. So that works really good. In case you want to ask, I'm using the A10 Warthog joystick with the TPR pedals off from Thrustmaster, which works really well, and you know, with the throttle. So we come in for landing here. Got our speed brakes out here with our thumb, looking good. Our gear is down, and we're coming in a bit of a weird angle here, so we'll get straightened up, give a little bit of throttle, and just do our best to get a nice smooth landing here back at home. So here we come. All right, idle there, a little bit of rudder, and we floated it big time. There we go. Hold that nose up, hold that nose up, hold that nose up, hold that nose up. Speed brakes are still out. All right, nose came down on its own. Give a little bit of manual braking there, not too much. Don't want to slide, don't want to hydroplane here. And we're down. We are down. So great night, great flight. I absolutely love flying the Viper with this throttle. Like, I can't go back. I legit can't go back. It's just, I love the way everything just is right there. It's very convenient, very ergonomic. So as you can see, this works great in DCS, and you can use it for any PC flight simulator, including X-Plane, P3D, or Falcon BMS, and it can be used on any aircraft. But there is just one major downside I have to point out before I go. Although you can use this throttle for any kind of aircraft, it only has one throttle axis. And remember, this is a specialized product specific to replicate the F-16. Some people won't care, but for others, they may prefer a more generic and diverse throttle with more axes. But if that doesn't bother you, or if the F-16 is your jam, then this is a must-have for sure. Personally, now that I have it, I can't live without it. It's a bit pricey for my own budget, and the truth is, not everyone can afford a premium product. Tesla is a great car, but everybody ain't got Tesla money. So the throttle is good quality. I would prefer more of a one throttle fits all concept. Save me on buying multiple throttles for different planes, you know, something like a Toyota Camry. But if the money is not an issue, Thrustmaster's F-16 Viper throttle is 100% worth it. So, is it worth it to you? Let me know in the comments. I hope this video helps you in some way. But thank you so much for watching. Remember, you have 3 choices: give up, give in, or give it all you got. Peace, love, and God bless you. I'll see you guys next time. Next video. I'm out.